The world is very different now. For man holds in his mortal hand the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life.
It begins a very special time of the year for us. It's the time of peace and reflection. One thing we should all be thankful for is that we live in America, where we have the freedom to change things and the opportunity to grow.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
And will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
What's up? Welcome to the show. I'm Andreas. Brittany's here with us tonight, as well as Amoro. Nathan, how you guys doing today?
Hello.
Dude, so did you guys ever really read the Jack and the Beanstalk story?
The actual story?
You know what I mean? Because I heard the Disney version. I remember Mickey Mouse, and let me look at a picture of Mickey Mouse Beanstalk. I mean, because that's the one that I remember. It was pretty cool as a kid. Do you guys remember the Mickey Mouse and the Beanstalk one?
Yes.
That one's pretty good, right? So Mickey gets some magic beans. I forget you get the whole narrative? What was the deal? There's a giant beanstalk. They have to climb it.
I remember the original story, which
Better
is
than that?
A poor mother sends her idiot son to town to to trade. What was it? I think was to sell the cow because they were so poor.
It was totally the cow.
He gets waylaid by a stranger on the way to town, and the stranger said, "I got these magic beans, though." And he came home, and his mom got mad, and she threw the beans out back. And overnight, the stalk grew, so he climbed that mother.
Wow. So,
yeah.
what do you? Hey, Giant, what's up? Giant guy here. How's it
Yo.
going?
How's it
Giant,
going,
we're
guys?
talking about giants for a second. Actually, we're looking at Jack and the Beanstalk. Do you guys remember? I just kind of gave part of this away. Do you remember the guy's name? It was Jack. But what was Jack's whole name? Do you know Jack's whole name?
No, I don't remember.
Fun fact: it's Jack Springer. Jack Springer. So Jack or there's Spriggans. Is it Spriggans? Sorry, it gets confusing.
Yeah, like a sprig. Okay, I get it.
Spriggans. Okay, so Jack Spriggans. And I had thought the story that Nathan, you just told was basically the original story. Apparently not.
No.
Apparently it goes back 5,000-7,000, Babylonian calendar years, whatever those amount to today, whatever, at least in terms of storylines. The Cornish legend goes back to some Indo-European myth, or maybe beyond that more, right? And there's more to this story than ever. And even just looking at the first British translation, because it's a translation, they're talking about Jack Spriggans dealing with the giant. It's not his mother, by the way. It's kind of referred to as something like the word that can refer to as a granny or like a maid or something like that. But really what it is it's his much older bedfellow who he's living with. And he gets the magic bean from her. She has a dream that if he gets this magic bean, then he'll forget all about her, basically. But what ends up happening is he doesn't do it for the fame. He just wants to grow some beans to have beans and bacon or something. And when the bean touches the ground, apparently because of some other story, she turns into a frog or toad, some ferocious toad. And so she starts attacking him because she's morphing into a toad. So he starts climbing up the beanstalk that's emerging into the clouds. And then he gets up to the clouds. The first place he goes isn't even to the giant's castle. He literally goes into this weird psychedelic town. Do you remember that Rick and Morty with the like, what happened where they climb up the, the stairway? Schmeckles, that whole thing. Right. So he goes in this giant tavern. So basically that's what happens first is he gets into a giant tavern and they tell him they have everything he could ever want. And he orders like 5 different things like bacon and pork and beef and chicken. And they don't have any of it. They don't, none of it. But they do have everything. So all he has to do is order everything. So he takes a drink of everything. And it's like this psychedelic ayahuasca ritual where everyone becomes everything. And like the dude at the bar becomes a beautiful woman. And then these women on horses show up riding and they call him champion over and over again. It's a very different Jack and the Beanstalk. Right.
Interesting.
And so then, yeah. So from there, he ends up getting to the giant's house where, of course, that's where the Disney thing is true. That's where the Disney story actually is the closer story because the princess that he rescues, because there's a later version in the 19th century where he I think the wife of the giant falls for him, which is definitely showing you something even more interesting about British history, right? Because they're saying that he gets to the house in the 19th century version, he sees all of his families and many other families' wealth has been taken as ornaments in this guy's house. Well, that's a newer version. And the older version, he sees this princess that he has to face north and has to arrange to the south. And it follows this weird pattern. If he turns her to the south, she becomes a basilisk serpent, the princess does, and she'll consume everything in the giant realm, right? And so that is the original version of Jack and the Beanstalk, as far as I can tell, going back, is that he has to control this serpent basilisk, which is very similar to Beowulf. And it's in the what is it, the Jack Beanstalk UT Codex, something like that. Ancient Codex. But yeah, so I don't know. That was making me think about giants. What do you guys think about giants? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just jumped in here. I'm trying to absorb all this. It's been a long time since I
Yeah.
since I heard any of that story. Trying to think back to little clues that I remember from seem to be encoded in that and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Let me think for a second. Who else has anything?
Isn't there a related goose in the golden egg? Or is that a totally different story?
I mean, it's a different
Doesn't he
story,
get
but
gold
it's
up in there?
pretty
Is there
similar
anything
kind of
else?
deal. Magic rituals and things like that. Another Granite Grimm's
I feel like he
fairy tale thing.
stole something though.
For the golden egg.
Yeah, not an egg.
No, he sold. I think they traded. He traded some family thing.
No, he
traded
stole something when he came down too.
Yeah.
The giant had a goose that laid golden eggs. and
There
he
we go.
Stole that.
Oh,
and he
Jack
climbed
steals
down,
the golden egg.
and the giant fell on his
That's
way
what
down.
I remember. Thank
Yeah,
you, Nathan.
Interesting. So Jack steals the golden goose or the golden egg. Golden goose.
Yeah, and then he and his mother were rich and always had food. I mean, that was the moral.
Oh, yeah, getting
which was
there.
a terrible moral. Just keep being a jackass, and eventually you'll get lucky.
Yeah,
But
right.
I don't know what Jack was supposed to be and what the giant was supposed to be in the story.
Well, so that's the
I'd
thing.
always
You don't
thought they
think-
were allegories for peoples.
Yeah. Well, you don't. So you don't. What about this idea of actual giants in general? Have you? Did you seen the Glydian Museum, right, in Santa Catalina?
Mm.
Let me remember where I have. I think I have that somewhere here.
Is this kind of David and Goliath a little bit, right? There's a bit of that with it just being a small human and then this giant, right, that it's fighting with. And we were just kind of going back and forth in comments a little while ago on Twitter about how the name, Jesus, Jack, James, John, Joseph, all that are all actually the same name. They're just like, one is before, one is the present, one is after, and then nicknames and all that stuff. So Jake, all that stuff. So, and then
That's
there's
interesting.
yeah, and then there's the John class, right? That's really this is why they call people that are like suitors for the women of the night or whatever. They call them Johns. They call using the restroom a John. They call them John Boys, those porta potties and stuff like that. There's a
Good
lot
night,
of
John boy.
You know what? You know what the giant's name is in Jack and the Beanstalk?
what's it saying?
Fun fact: Gog Magog. Gog Magog.
Oh wow.
Magog.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
Right.
there go your references. Welsh. I couldn't decide if this was Welsh or if it was Estonian. I know
Well, they
that's
say
weird,
Cornish.
but
I don't know.
And so it is an inhabitant of Albion, it says.
Right.
Well, there we
So-
go.
And if it wasn't originally a goose that laid a golden egg, what are variations of?
Yeah,
well,
so-
I mean,
So it had a
You
it
went
had
to
a, it had a goose, is what you're saying, that there was a goose that was involved with this giant. It was the giant's goose.
Yeah, is
the
that
giant
always the
had
story
a-
from origin, or did we change?
Oh, that I don't.
Find out.
we'll have to go
Because-
deeper.
Because I think Brahma is supposed to be like one of its animals is the goose, right? There's this goose that is connected to a lot of the original gods, as far as I remember, from
Jack
the different.
Simpleton.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Buddhists have a golden goose as well, which is interesting. The Buddha was born, grew up, got married during his life as a member of the Hindu caste group of hereditary priests, had a daughter named Nadavati and Sundarananda. And when he died, he got reincarnated as a golden goose with golden feathers. It's not the same though. I
But no
guess.
golden eggs.
And check out if I believe Brahma has like a goose as his mount, or like something related to Brahma with the goose, as far as I remember.
But
Yeah, that's why they call it the Brahma goose. Yeah.
man, where'd it go? When I spelled it wrong, it came up easier. Brahma riding his goose. Let's do it. There we go.
Yeah.
What?
I like
Who is that? Vahana.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah.
crazy picture.
Yeah. So maybe there's like a like there, this beanstalk is up north, which is kind of like, maybe somewhat reminiscent of like the North Pole or something like that. And it's going up to meet this giant, because Santa Claus is really like a representation of Brahma, if you really look at it. And it's the North Pole kind of god. And then the Abhijit Nakshatra is near the North Pole, right? And it represents the North and the North Pole. And that's where Brahma's nakshatra is, right? And it might be the umbilical cord or the lotus flower that's coming out of Vishnu's belly button, right? Is this area? So maybe it's somewhat connected into that this is that stem of the lotus flower, whatever, coming out of Vishnu, and then Brahma's the giant in a way or something, and then also the goose. That's why the goose is related, maybe.
Well, so one of the things, where did I put that thing? So I was looking at the Catalina Island Museum explorations of Ralph Glidden. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, because it's pretty interesting. And there's a couple of videos on YouTube. I forget what it was, if it was like Anthropology Britannia or like Giants, and they were looking into this as well. But you can actually just go here if you're ever in Santa Catalina in California, and if you can see what's left of the Glidden museum. There's like a skeleton museum there, but the original pictures are nuts, right? Because these were just, the museum was literally made of bones. And you go to this part of California where there's some of the most suspect things going on. Actually, that's right where there's a group of these African-American families who had their beach property taken from them, and they're now all of a sudden restoring their property. There's a lot of interesting things around the area of Santa Catalina that are starting to happen. And all of these bones that are supposed to be of giants, a lot of them are really large. They were returned to natives of the Santa Catalina Islands, tribes. So, because it was like,
That's pretty funny, because the Catalinas were originally the Carolinas.
so, and they connect that also with the Polynesian Maori, right? So yeah, so the giants thing, and then there's some people that are like really tall from that area that say that they're partially the sons of giants or something.
What do you think about the sizes of giants?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
This is a
What do you
big
think?
one that I've been running into actually all week, and I haven't even looked into giants this week. I keep hearing people reference the different sizes, and a lot of them will go back and forth on their we could call it demigod status, their purity from that original binding of Nephilim and human, and decreasing in size as their bloodlines are diluted.
Right.
And yet at the same time, we find different areas of the world having giants between 12 feet, 30 feet, but nobody
30
really
feet is
talks
interesting.
about the big ones.
Right.
In Amos
Attack
2:9.
Okay.
Okay, Amos 2:9, KJV. He said they are as tall as cedars. You know how tall cedars get? 120 feet.
Yeah.
A
So
grown cedar is 100 to 120 feet typically. That's massive. That's on the order of
biggin.
80 tons.
Right.
80 tons. And in
So, but-
Amos 2:9, they say that we're almost there. In Amos 2:9, they say, Shingeki no Kyojin. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
In Amos 2:9, they talk about them being tall as cedars, and that they were the Amorites and that they were driven out of the land.
Mhm.
Now, you guys can find Jonathan Moctemus, his work. He has a presentation, an essay, and video called "The Land of Amory."
Say his name again.
Which Jonathan Moctemus, the Bible guy I'm working with, the Obry Project. Mock, and then Temes. It's all one word.
Almost did it.
There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Just a E. There you go.
Okay.
Now, the video is called "The Land of Amory," and I won't spoil it for you, but here your connection to some giants and also to the Amorites and also America.
Epic.
And
There
what
we
did
go.
Lincoln famously say when he looked on Western America? We're in the land of the giants.
Right. Well, it's crazy. So, and then of course, though, Attack on Titan, all about this to every extent. So you say like no one's talking about it, but there's an entire anime show that's about 100-foot, 120-foot giants that are superhuman, or maybe a deviation in and of itself. Maybe the 36-foot becoming small and becoming super large as part of some weird mutation that's going on. You don't completely hear the story at the beginning, except that it's year 800 or 1800. That's kind of confusing there. And then what do they call it?
Weird.
The Tarmaria. What is it? Star Walmaria? Walmaria.
Oh, that's Walmaria.
yeah.
but
But they pronounce it Walmaria, which is good.
Yeah, well, Starubaku.
Yeah, it's fair.
But you find in the first season that wall is actually built to encase Titans, and that those Titans are the only reason that the other Titans cannot break through the wall.
But
Initially,
bro, these are terrifying giants, because they have like muscle and metal, they're very strong. They're stone and muscle. They're not like covered in
and
skin.
each has different abilities. You could call them breakaways or divergence, or in the case of Evangelion, angels. They are different iterations of what mankind or hybrids could be.
See, but people like giants. It's always the gentle giant, right? Gentle giant, right? But all these old stories aren't about gentle giants, and Attack on Titans isn't about gentle giants. Just a band. That's cool. But no, most of the time the giants like to eat people in these stories. Is that the deal? Are we talking about giants just eating a bunch of people? How many
Yeah,
people
well-
a day?
What was that with the giant scene?
Which thing? What was what?
No, that just watched that.
Yeah,
You're
Attack on
talking about
Titan.
it.
He's
Yeah.
calling it the Japanese name. I can never remember it. Was it Shin? Dude, Nathan, say it. Attack on Titan, Japanese.
Shingeki no Kyojin.
See how great he is? Shinjeki no
Shingeki no Kyojin.
Kyojin. Right.
And this is a anime. What is this?
Yeah, so this is called
It's
Shinjeki no
like-
Kyojin.
it's this generation's Dragon Ball Z. It's that fucking big.
It is pretty big.
Opportunistic.
It is pretty big.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Kidding.
It is big. And it is about people living in a walled city in a world with a flamenco timeline where they have to deal with giants that are trying to eat them on the other side of this giant wall. And there's a ring city that's kind of dealing with steampunk technology and everything else. They're trapped. It's like an ice wall.
Oh, and there's
wall.
human hybrid engineering, mad scientists, all that stuff.
Right.
There's
right.
some crazy stuff. And they also dabble in some pre-Weimar imperialism. I mean,
Mm.
that's the structure of their society too. So that's pretty strange. They're
It's
the
true.
last
At the
bastion
very
against an ancient
beginning,
world.
there's this dude who's like Uncle Adolf. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot's going
well-
on in the show.
I'm
well, the
here real
Japanese
quick.
creators.
There's a
yeah.
live chat. So
yeah?
I'm not going to do them all now.
Hey, but Jeremy Fawcett,
if
1123, good number schema.
If you have a live chat, there'll be a point where we
Brittany,
go
make
over
sure it
those.
happens.
That's why I'm
Good
here.
job.
So
But
Anyway.
yeah, so these things are like mutated. Do you remember anime seems to cover all this stuff? What's the one? Nausicaa. I know in our lives talked about Nausicaa, but they do the same thing.
Valley of the Wind. Yeah.
They genetically modify, what do we call it to look at this up? Mutants. The monsters, dude. Not the bugs. The bugs are cool. I like the bugs. It's like the freaking creepy, like nuclear genetically modified monsters created by man that you got to worry about. And they're huge. They can't live very long. They just exist to kill and destroy. You know, it's part of this genetically modified super weapon that circumvents nuclear. I mean, that's sorry, John, go ahead.
This is also this is all Japanese stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's
Yep.
weird about this is that it was financed by Prince Bernhard, who financed the World Wildlife Foundation and Bilderberg Club, right? Prince Bernhard, Bilderberg. Let me see, pull him up. He was a member of the Saxon
this
Coburg
guy.
Home. Yeah.
sounds like
This guy's got a really sick novel. He's the one that wrote that novel, right?
Which one?
One of these Bilderberg guys is famous for a novel he wrote in which a young Japanese girl is raped by a grizzly bear
Really?
and like kept in
Whoa.
a cage and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty sick novel.
what?
I
Like,
wouldn't be too
sick
surprised.
Bad, not cool.
I wouldn't be too
but I
surprised.
think
to hear
that's
some
him.
stuff. Oh man.
Hmm.
Scandals, rumors, affairs, galore. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure which books he published because there's so many different things that they put out. And it's interesting when the ones they put out under their own names, for God's sakes, right? But so at the beginning of Nausicaa, you see the pictures of the World Wildlife Foundation, and its connection to Bernhardt was also promoted at that Bilderberg. And the Trilateral Commission was created mainly because he would not accept Japanese membership into the Bohemian Club because of their lack of nobility. They weren't part of the Teutonic nobility like he was, which is suspect in and of itself because he was just a consort for the Queen Juliana at the time, which, don't get me wrong, she was cool, I think. I don't know, but like,
Hey, a queen's whore is still above a peasant.
it is what it is, But yeah, so you made this thing that was all about this girl 1,000 years after the fall of industry that rides around on some sort of a hovercraft, and she has a pocket monster, which is where the word Pokemon comes from as well.
Interesting.
So Pokemon
So,
comes from mutated
Yes,
beings in this world.
These old Japanese flicks and shows, if you guys are fans of heavy metal, that's all they were doing in the 80s and 90s was stuff like that.
Dude,
Just
heavy metal,
Kind
the
of out
comic
of
book?
this world. No, well, heavy metal, the movie, the OG movie, their old stuff all has the same feel. It wasn't
Absolutely.
until pop culture really grabbed anime that the Japanese animation started to become more formulaic.
Dude, I hope my moderate search is good enough. I might have to go with strict for heavy metal comic books, but pretty sweet. Just it is what it is. But yeah, so they have these stories about what's the thing? The green orb? It's the
Lochnar.
Lochnar.
How do you not know that? You know Alex Jones and he I am the Lochnar.
Do they have any good like kung fu or martial arts anime versus
Oh,
just a
ton of it.
Slayer
Fist of the
slaughter?
North Star.
Yeah, right.
Fist of the
Yes.
North Star is
I really
like that's
like,
where you want to start.
The 80s
Actually, I
kung
feel like
fu
it was just on
movies and-
yesterday or something. I was just watching.
It's
that,
kind
I
of
think.
OG, and I think they
Yeah.
redid it, but the
No, I like the original.
Sweet.
reading or watching doesn't matter. And then when you get into the modern stuff, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all that stuff. But yeah, it started with Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, I mean, so in
See?
a lot of these stories, though, anime discloses stuff, and we think of it as being, it's just this weird cartoon from Japan, which is just slightly more obscure than just this weird cartoon. But it is a thing created to disclose information by the elite, often from the West, which is interesting that Prince Bernhard would be a part of that.
And what do I say all the time? These creators, content creators like animation guys, novelists, they all hang out in party crowds because people are hoping they'll hear their gossip or some little bit of a tale and immortalize it with art. It's an ego thing. That's where all the Fleming novels came from, was him partying with military intel.
Tales from Tartary. Is that the one
with
of?
Ivan and all the right. Yeah.
Fleming. There's letters from Tartary, news from Tartary with Peter Fleming. It's a pretty interesting example of that same thing, right? His older brother, Ian Fleming's older brother from Peking to Kashmir, talking about the news along the way and what he got to see that most people didn't know about, using the mythological terminology. But okay, so where's that picture? So talking about giants in terms of size, right? This is the scale.
See, 36 feet, that's nothing.
That's nothing. But it is
It's
also
nothing.
maybe, but is that saying that there's a deviation going both directions? Like 36 feet is normal. We're shrunk, and 106 feet, 120 feet are these basilisk eatable monsters.
As tall as a cedar. They were as tall as cedars from a time when old growth forest was the forest.
Okay, let's see. Height of a cedar.
So height of a Lebanese cedar.
Okay.
If we're gonna keep it out of America, height of a
keep it
Lebanese
legit.
cedar. So there
How
you go.
tall is that?
That big. Yeah, 60 feet. But then you go to the other cedar copses in the world, and they're all taller than this. Lebanese cedars can grow at like 7,500 feet, no problem. Which is kind of unique.
Well, okay, so if they're under 100 feet, 30 to 100 feet, I can see that. The biggest giants getting the tallest or something like that. But then having these giant monsters that eat people that are beyond your regular giants. Am I just trying to defend giants? I don't know. I feel like 36-foot tall people are still people.
Well, let's talk about Gulliver then.
Okay.
Because in that case, I mean, is that the only giant story where
No
he's
way.
not the giant?
Definitely
He
not.
is, but he isn't. Because it's told as if he's one of us. Now, perhaps we're the giants.
I mean, you can remember, what's this? The Mummy Returns Pygmies was pretty much,
Oh, yeah. I actually really liked that chunk of that movie.
and that was great.
The whole run up to the pyramid.
But there's definitely stories about smaller people. I think that's an interesting thing. Are the smaller people always the good guys? In Gulliver, it says no. There are examples of because they're always making it look like the giants eat people. But I'm pretty sure like tiny people eat people too. Tiny Cannibals sounds like an 80s band. I don't know.
It sounds like an 80s horror movie.
Ryan Hinnard says Saddam Hussein wrote romance novels with bear love. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Did Saddam Hussein really write romance novels? Did he really,
Like bears that
or
loved
did he
each
throw
other,
his romance
or
novels in the wood chipper? You know what I
Bestiality.
mean? I just don't know if it's true. I want to know. I want to read his romance novels. That would be something.
is there a link?
I want to read his archaeological notes.
Yes. Or
Some
anything.
Hussein
Use dark water
archaeological.
or heavy water.
See what we get if we just type that in. Just a sweet picture right there. Saving that for my desktop background. That's not bad at all. So him with Cyrus. Oh, okay, but like in terms of records of giants existing, so we saw Catalina. You know about that. We've now seen some examples of the Smithsonian giants, bones, the suppression of giants. Guy has got some articles on it. Smithsonian building giants, graveyard of giants found in China. Even the Smithsonian kind of trying to talk about, quote, giants 5'9" or longer. So trying to make it seem like it's more sub 36-foot humanoids. How do you think 120-foot people? And is this because of the vapor canopy, or what do you think it's because of?
Well, gigantism in the past was totally possible. We know that with everything. So, and that's just it's pressure density buoyancy. mean, those factors can cause gigantism. Who did the experiment where they put, was it goldfish? I think they put goldfish in a tank and they increased the water pressure, and the
Mhm.
goldfish experienced gigantism, and so did their offspring.
I don't remember who did that test, but I do remember seeing it. And there's a number of examples of this as well. That they did this with mollusk shells as well, and how
That's how it's possible with sea life as well.
right. So, but in the rainforest, this could make a lot of sense that during a rainforest period, because of the density and like the competition for oxygen, because there's a lot of moisture, but then all of a sudden there's a lot of CO2 as well. And then the mushrooms that are growing in competition, all the CO2 right now makes it great for a potential rainforest to emerge wherever there's urban zones, because that's some place where CO2 can be consumed. But then the relationship back is perhaps like this vapor canopy. So giants could reemerge. What do you think?
So what does the vapor
What would
canopy
cause
create?
that?
It causes more pressure or less pressure? Yeah, more
The
pressure.
density of the air.
Yeah. And then what is it doing exactly? I haven't heard much about this. I don't know.
Yeah, so they talk about the idea like Venus is covered in a vaporous canopy,
And
right?
push
And
out towards it.
the metaphor that that Earth is inside of a vaporous canopy, that water condensates and then eventually can evaporate from other clouds into a giant mist, but that mist is dense, right? And so if it gets big enough, then you can have a planetary or whatever you call it, even if it's a solar, like flat Earth, whatever. You could have the entire area, and this is from biblical stories as well. So it happens to be that science also agrees with this, and right now emerging with an atheist version that is exactly the same story as what
It's all new age.
Yeah, it's like the new age version of what the Genesis story really says.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so there's a big vaporous canopy that eventually opens up and water comes out of during Noah's period. It just starts to rain because it's a cloud that's so big and so dense that eventually it has to pour out. But it takes, who knows? It could be like a long.
Because it's gone up.
Could be
and there's
millennia. It could be centuries. who
Helium
knows?
and hydrogen are up there.
It
And
could
if
be
it's getting
centuries, and it
trapped.
could be, honestly, with a large enough pressure displacement, it could be minutes, days.
Right.
And
It could
therein we
immediately
get
appear.
into cataclysm.
And then the idea that radio waves are magnified, visible light, all kinds of things that could have been affected just from a vapor canopy. But one of the main interesting things, the test that like Nathan was talking about, increase in the size of the life that's growing in highly vaporous areas, which you notice in the rainforest now is already the case. Things are growing much larger. You have much larger carrots, but that could be for a couple reasons.
And it blocks out UV, it says, right? It blocks out
So
the
is
UV.
this
Right.
geoengineering?
It can,
Are they
right,
including
it
the geoengineering, or is this just
Yeah,
and
you could do it that way as well.
The thing
And that-
is, it could also, like, in the wrong way, it could be used to trap it inside to bounce around like a fluorescent light.
So if, with the
That's why you
increase
don't
in-
want.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Oh, that's why you don't want. He said it could bounce around in a bad way. That's why you don't want to try to RF proof your room, because if you miss a spot and something gets in, or if something in there is creating it, it just bounces and amplifies.
More damage.
Which is the one hole in the test that classrooms around the world keep doing. Does Wi-Fi kill plants? They put these plants in a tub, and then they tinfoil the whole tub, and they have a camera and a Wi-Fi signal, and the Wi-Fi just does not allow these seeds to grow. And the one where the Wi-Fi is off is the control. They grow just fine. The only
they're
problem is
cutting you out.
inside of that fractal, they am I doing bad?
Yeah.
Anyways, it
Funny to
amplifies.
say this.
It's
It,
all
it amplifies it how?
Can I
Well-
travel through? Go ahead, keep going.
the ricochet actually amplifies it.
Right. So I wish I could show a picture.
So when
of
it
this.
bounces around, instead of it passing through the area once, it comes back and back and back and back, and it compounds. It's like contrasting ripples in a pond.
Boom.
All of a sudden, there you go.
There you go. So all of a sudden you're in a focus point, almost worse than a lens. Because
Yeah,
there's a point of intersection that's more intense.
When one mirror reflects the sunlight onto your face, it's nice, but when 5,000 do it, all of a sudden your head's melting.
Yeah.
It's the same way. Now we actually the Cesura satellite tests bouncing heat and signal off of the Cesura, CES/SURA. Japan and Russia
CES.
got together and they were like, let's see if we can bounce signal and how far with ionospheric heating. And so you can actually target a populace and cook them.
Can you bounce these off of the things
Clouds.
they're seeding with clouds? Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
that's-
nanoparticles, so
that
millions
is,
and billions of mirrors. The
That's a possible
stratospheric.
cause for the spraying.
Okay, that's SAI, right? The stratospheric aerosol injections. If people want to look up the actual science that they've been doing
In
to block out
early
the sun.
2020. Yeah.
Back in the 70s, though.
Oh, yeah, but
1940s.
so the Cesura test actually concluded in early 2020 when they had the results from these two, and they can bounce anything from information to ionizing radiation.
So they
I'm
got
gonna read
to
this
call
one.
it data and research, the research and development for like 40 years, 50
Proposed
years.
tethered balloon to inject aerosols
Repeated
into the
projects.
stratosphere. See, that's cool because then they wouldn't have had to have all these planes with exhaust. It would have been a lot easier just to use balloons. Stratospheric aerosol injection is a proposed method of solar geoengineering or solar radiation modification to reduce global warming. This would introduce aerosols into the stratosphere to create a cooling effect via global dimming, which occurs naturally from volcanic eruptions. It appears that stratospheric aerosol injections at a moderate intensity could counter most changes to temperature and precipitation. Precipitation. It take effect rapidly, have low direct implementation costs, and be reversible in its direct climatic effects. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change concludes that this is the most researched social geoengineering method, with high agreement that it could limit warming to below 1.5 degrees centigrade. Quote and quote, YouTube, you leave me alone. However, like other solar geoengineering approaches, stratospheric aerosol injections would do so imperfectly, and other effects are possible. Let me just, out of my own
I've been talking about SAIs for
on my own due
many
diligence,
years.
What to say? Most
You gotta find.
the most well researched. This is the best we've got. Is this book here? Okay.
But you can get it back to 60s,
Says-
70s, 80s research. Tons of it.
It says IPCC.Czechoslovakia. Okay,
Oh.
I'll take it. All right. So yeah, there's some decent back there, some data.
I have a 3-ring binder with a lot of data if you want to get into geoengineering and SAI. But that's what I wanted to know, how that impacts like with the sun and reflective.
Yeah, what do you think it does?
Well, there's so frying people, like, I don't know. Nathan's talking about directing that energy or radio frequencies in the clouds that people, you think the moon impacts your mood and whatnot. So now we have these clouds seeded with different types of things that can carry frequencies too. Is that what?
Oh yeah,
No?
they use
So-
frequencies to excite the ionosphere. So it's toward what end that everyone's been asking themselves and each other. To what end?
Yeah.
Man, you just went with Matrix for a second there. Injecting what?
Shit. But there's aluminum.
To exciting ions in the
Oh.
atmosphere? Is that what we're saying? Exciting.
There's so many sub projects in geoengineering that are probably linked to RF
Yeah, you could
and
really
electromagnetic frequency, not just blocking out the sun.
look at the properties of a fluorescent light
Mhm.
to see what is being put in and how it can be excited.
Fluoron.
Yeah, does
Typically,
UV?
so it's mercury vapor, and it used to be neon and argon. They would use the noble gases because you can just pump little flashes of electricity, like on, off, on, off, on, off, on the scale of milliseconds. And it would light these. That's why when they go bad, they seem to blink. But I wonder if you could do it with things like barium.
Crazy.
Electrode, starter switch, phosphor coating, mercury atoms. So they're exciting the mercury atoms.
That's like a
Is-
mercury cloud, right?
Yeah, they aerosolize them and they trap them in the tubes.
Yeah.
And they'll mix it. They used to, like, neon lights used to be a thing, and they began to be so expensive because neon was dangerous, but also neon is really usable for domestic terrorism. So they stopped it.
Hmm.
And now the neon lights are LED mock-ups. They don't make them anymore. Not really. It's a specialist thing.
History, production, 2022 shortage of neon. Global neon prices jumped 600% after the 2014 annexation of Crimea, spurring some chip manufacturers to start shifting away from Russian and Ukrainian suppliers towards suppliers in China. In 2022, Russian invasion of Ukraine also shut down 2 companies in Ukraine, Geoengineering and Ingaz, located in Odessa and Mariupol, respectively, that produce about half of the global supply of neon. The closure was predicted to likely exacerbate COVID-19 chip shortage, which may lead further shift neon production to China. Neon is
Check
used
out
in vacuum
neon's other
tubes,
uses, though.
semiconductors, for EUV. Oh, used for power lasers for EUV lithography. Okay.
See,
that's
this is what's really going on with neon.
there we go.
They don't want people having it.
Yeah.
The same
You
as
could
with
3D print
liquid
for that.
mercury, not mercury hydrochloride. Or is it hydroxide? What's the powder mercury? Can't remember.
Powdered mercury. Mercury oxide powder.
Okay, that stuff. You breathe it, you die.
Yeah, it seems
That's
reasonable.
it. But when you mix
a
liquid
reasonable deal.
mercury with some other stuff, it makes it so a lot of mercury people kill themselves on accident.
Dang. Terrible. But with the
Oh,
neon,
right.
you can print multiple spectrum layers for photovoltaic cells or for semiconductor wafers. Is that what this is for? It's also for 3D printing. It looks like EUV. And this is what you'd use to you could excite different particles so that specific particles lay in specific patterns. You could actually arrange gold with this 3D print. Burn a vacuum in a specific location with a laser so that there's an empty space right in the middle of the room in front of, in between these two mirrors. There's a vacuum that's formed without a bell. There could be a bell around the whole thing, but all this could be in one spot. And then it's pulling in the material. So the material, then you have vaporous gold from some sort of electro ionic. It could be a gas. It doesn't have to be distilled. And then from there, it lays, and then the laser refocuses the next layer. It's like a 3D printer, and it would continue to do this in the places where the vacuum is projected. So it would only go to the places where there's nothing, where the oxygen's been burnt off by lasers. And you'd just be able to print.
Very interesting. And then with UVA and UVB, isn't one of those harmful to like life? It's harmful to plant life, right? They reject it with green or something like that, right? It's not
I know
having
that
the absence of the UV coming from this.
I know that UVC is not supposed to be present at ground level. And since 2016, we've been recording high levels of it.
Yeah.
High levels, but that was the solar storm stuff that
failing.
began.
The SAI.
And the UVA is with aging, right? So maybe that's why things live longer. If that was like you guys were saying, that vapor canopy or whatever, right? Maybe that's why people, the giants were bigger and things lived longer, possibly,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah, that's
The
a
UVA.
factor. Oh, here, another thing about fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lamps are a non-linear load and generate harmonic currents in the electrical power supply. This is why we've been moving away from those and onto LEDs and other such. So the arc within the lamp may generate radio frequency noise, which can be conducted through power wiring. Suppression of radio interference is possible. Very good suppression is possible, but adds to the cost of fluorescent fixtures. Fluorescent lamps near end of life can present a serious radio frequency interference hazard. Oscillations are generated from the negative differential resistance to the arc, and the current flow through the tube can form a tuned circuit whose frequency depends on path length. So in simple terms, old lights are an accidental RF defense. Old lights are an accidental Faraday.
That is very interesting.
And just the fluorescent, you're saying? Right?
Yes, because the
tubes.
fluorescent, they go short spurts where they fire. And when they start to die, they fire at such rates that they actually negate RF through the natural medium. So like you go into older office buildings and lose your cell signal.
Yeah.
And it's not even the lead paint. That's pretty interesting.
No, it's not the asbestos. It is the asbestos.
Well, that's a very interesting thing, because you know how computers were before the semiconductor period and transistor period, even before the transistor period with the vacuum tubes. And it's interesting because then you could use a vacuum tube for a much higher rate. If you were to start to try to use technology today, it would be not quite as fast as what you could do with the vacuum tube then. But at the time, the way they were using vacuum tubes, the way we're told they were using vacuum tubes, were very inefficient. So of course, if you're just going to send a pulse, use a transistor. You don't need to use a vacuum tube. And
they call transistors magic now.
Dude,
we would never have done this if it weren't for the simple transistor.
I think we all knew vacuum tubes were the actual magic. I mean, cathode ray vacuum tubes. In every house, everyone had to have a vacuum tube TV. If you didn't have your, when I type house, when I could type TV. The vacuum tubes are so valuable. Magic. You could watch a person in a box. I mean, gotta admit.
Colors in those last lights you're showing.
Say it again?
I'm just thinking of stars and hydrogen and helium. Way back. The lighting.
That's not, I don't think, what's in the vacuum tube. It's is it?
No.
In the tube
I'm thinking to have something like that be lofted up on a larger scale. Anyway,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, just continue. Sorry. Because I didn't know what colors. You're talking about pulsing colors. I'm thinking stars.
No, so right here, explaining a cathode ray tube explains to people how you can bend light, how you can actually bend light using magnets.
Yay.
And I recently had this conversation because somebody brought up the flat earth idea. They call it the black swan. Go in a straight line and you see further than you should. And then we began to talk about how light does curve with magnets. And then we began to talk about how an 8 Tesla MRI machine leaves no visible issues. And that's strange.
Which thing? The 8 Tesla MRI machine?
So there's a guy who basically disproved Max Planck's theory by powering up, is it micro Tesla or mega Tesla? He powered up an MRI machine to such a degree that it broke Planck's laws of physics. And he said they're not laws if you can break them like this. And so the strongest MRI machines are only ever used in places like MIT. Los Alamos has one. The ones we use in hospitals are still weaker, but due to their liquid helium cooled magnetic power, they should have, there you go.
Zoos.
They should actually leave visual artifacts like a mirage.
Wow.
On a cold morning in Minneapolis last December, a man walked into a research center to venture where only pigs had gone before, into the strongest magnetic resonance imaging MRI machine built to scan the human body. First, he changed into a hospital gown, and researchers made sure he had no metals on his body, no piercings, no rings, no metal implants or pacemakers. Any metal could be ripped out by the immensely powerful 10.5 Tesla magnet, weighing almost 3 times more than a Boeing 737 airplane, and a full 50% more powerful than the strongest magnets approved for clinical use. Days earlier, he had passed a checkup that included a baseline test of his sense of balance to make sure that any dizziness from exposure to the magnets could be assessed properly. Dang. Okay. 4-meter long tube, 110 tons of magnets, and 600 tons of iron shielding.
So how does this work? What does it do with the magnets?
Nathan, what do you got?
Well,
this work?
we were talking about the ability to bend light using magnets. You're not actually bending the light, because light isn't what people think it is.
Whoa, this is the thing? Dang, it's huge.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That thing is massive. When they made the first one hit 7T, it just it changed the world, and they're making them stronger and stronger. You're looking at a part of CERN. This became a part of CERN.
Looked like
Wow.
CERN.
CERN took that to the nth degree, but
Trying to pull your
you're not
shadow off of you.
actually.
That's kind of what they made it sound like.
Seriously, it'll give you your virginity back. Like, this thing is
Yeah.
magic.
So they're gonna get
But-
AI.
You're not actually bending light, because light is an excitation of the medium, which is why when you cohere the medium, you get a laser. It's all the light right there exciting in a fine direction. Now you can magnetize the medium or the ether or whatever you want to call it, and you can bend it. And so the light excited parts of it appear to bend. Now, does that mean if you can do that, and we actually have lab-based evidence that we can do that, then can you see around a curve? Can you see an entire object around a curve? That's the question.
Well, I mean, you
Yeah.
can definitely you can see how it's affected by the around the curve, right? So as long as they're both connected on some level, I think the answer is yes. And since they are, then yes.
Well, yeah, you can see. Well, you can see that light is bent when you have lasers, or when you have a specific gas and you magnetize that one gas. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can see an entire finished object through a random medium of gases. That's
Okay.
what I mean. Can you see an entire object around a curve?
I mean, this is already nuts. The difference in resolution here between a 3 Tesla magnet and a 9.4 Tesla magnet resonance image machine. Dang.
Oh yeah, you could see past lives in that thing. It's crazy.
Have you talked about just magnetizing things in general? You can magnetize just like ferrous fluids and mercury. I remember when we were studying that a long time
You
ago.
can magnetize your dog, man.
You could yeah. So magnets aren't even really what we're taught. It's exchange of energy.
Dude, I definitely have a weird theory
So-
about all the lead in the water in the Midwest, keeping people in places.
Okay, do it.
No, that's basically it. Just keeping people places. You know what I mean? Because like
Making them heavy.
You're magnetized to that spot, and then it's like I can't leave. It's like, why won't you leave? There's tornadoes. There's lead in the water. There's crime. They
Lead.
burned down all the historical
Where's
buildings.
the lead in the water?
Dude,
Yeah.
Flint, Michigan is the one that always.
That's Michigan.
Is that a propaganda piece?
This is
that Flint,
Minnesota.
Michigan is real,
No,
right?
I told
Just
you
in
about
Midwest.
Flint, remember?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's real.
But that's not Minnesota.
I didn't say. Did I say
Oh,
Minnesota?
I don't know.
I said
He
Midwest.
said Michigan.
Yeah.
No,
for
I
sure.
I told you about Flint and 21
That's
Pilots.
crazy.
We were going to talk about music after that.
You ever see water in Flint, Michigan? It's like a thing, man. I like to follow
Apple juice. Looks like urine.
Blacking water.
Do they live longer there? Or is
No,
it
it's
really
like
actually
lead in the
bad?
water? I don't think they do.
That's where lead will lead you, right?
Check out the sink. You know what I mean? You should imagine you got a nice house, got a nice job, you're trying to do your best in society, you got family and kids. This comes out when you try to wash your kids or when you wash your
Wow.
face to go to work in the morning or something like that.
And
Yeah,
we
and then-
already know that you filter your drinking water, but your epidermis absorbs more than your mouth does. So when you take a long shower with that pharmaceutical water that you forgot to filter, you're screwed.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
absorbs.
I think we're even allowed to say that this is bad, which is funny. But like the last 10 years, they've been
Yeah.
20, 10, 20
You
years.
can always
This has
throw
been going on,
something
and
out.
then we're like, when are they going to fix that? And people think
Well-
it's so long ago it's been fixed, and yet it hasn't.
Fluoride was
Who's this
something you
guy
can get out
living
of
his
the water.
life, the fullest? Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Do you know about John Hutchison?
Oh yeah, the Hutchinson effect.
Dude, this guy's legit. So he's a Canadian who does a bunch of crazy effects. He works for the British government, American government, Canadian government. I think they pay him now just so, stays out of trouble or something like that. But he
Yeah,
does
didn't he shoot lasers at the ocean after the Fukushima, and he said that he was going to transmute all the radiation, and he says he did it.
yeah, good guy John Hutchinson. You know what I mean? Trying to be helpful. I don't know.
Doesn't he
the
dress
things
up as a
says-
woman though too? Isn't he kind
Does
of weird?
he, or is he just kind of? He's definitely weird. I
He
don't know
said
if
he
it's a
killed
woman.
Nikola Tesla's niece. He said that he killed her, but
Really?
they let him go with it because he's crazy. That's what he said.
And she wasn't
Man, I
dead.
never heard
He
that story. I
sounds
love it.
as
Was she actually
he
dead and
sounds as
murdered?
cool as the guy who
He said she
created
was
Temple
following him.
OS.
Yeah, he said that she's in an interview. He said that she had been following him and being really weird with him and everything. And then he kind of just like, yeah, I had to get rid of her or something.
Wait,
Well,
And
maybe
she's
he
dead?
meant more like he just had to like shake his tail. You know what I mean? Because maybe she was involved with some weird people, and he was like, "Yeah, I gotta just."
Well, no,
separate
then
my
the guy said, "Oh, well, then why have you gotten away with it or something?" And then he was just like, "Yeah, because I'm crazy or something."
Oh,
And that's why.
yeah. See, I think he just means, why did you get away with being able to bring this technology to the public? I don't know. I don't. I think this.
Oh,
might be
yeah,
he
I-
had to
Considering
watch
that's a
Tesla's
long
niece.
Yeah,
He had to
it was a
watch
long
out
time
Steve
ago.
himself.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, but I've only heard good things so far. But that could be a whole other side to his life, and I won't say I know it's not true. But he does
Yeah.
Should
should
make
make.
those weird stories about him, like Lovecraft made that story about Houdini at the pyramids.
Dude,
They should take
sometimes you can
weirdos
still
like this and
hear
make
John
science
Hutchinson
fiction.
in the middle of the night in the woods. You can hear him still transmuting lead into gold.
Transmuting his boy into a girl.
But he does a lot. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's a little bit into rock and roll, and I think there's something that happens, a little transmutation that happens when you're really into circuitry and stuff like that. But I don't think he's into exactly dressed like a woman per se. He's just really into the metal scene because he's from that generation. Keeps his hair long, and like so did Ben Franklin, and those guys also definitely dressed as women. There's no question about Ben Franklin. So
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I was more interested in his ray gun stories. Like, so he's built these machines that can literally bend metal inwards, take like a solid chunk of titanium, and then just crush it from its center like a donut, which just doesn't compute. That's not a thing that should be done, or it could be done,
Yeah.
but it is done by this man with his laser gun. I mean, he can wear a dress. I've never seen him do it. I'm just saying.
he combines like wood and metal and all kinds. I think he's a cool dude. I thought he was interesting. It just I followed his YouTube channel not too long ago, like 4 years ago, and then he started changing and getting, I think, trying to be weird, I think, on purpose, maybe.
To
That's
get
what-
him off the radar.
yeah, so that they
Hand in the
would
pocket.
keep thinking he's crazy and maybe not mess with him so much. They don't know what to believe about what he can and can't
Oh,
do.
that's brilliant. Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude for sure.
His house looks like a spaceship. It's just like every piece of machinery you could get from every military surplus, sale. All
Yeah.
set up.
Wait, was he the guy that got CFS?
I don't know.
Did he get chronic fatigue syndrome? He's all gray hair now, right?
Is he? I don't think he is.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different guy then.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's old, but he still looks like,
I think he
that's the thing.
dyes his hair. Yeah.
He's like a
He
Keith
looks
Ri-
like a
it's
member
Keith,
of Dawkins.
It's like Keith Richards and more Canadian. Exactly. Yeah. Like I'll give you all of that. All of that I admit. And
He does
surrender
look
your
like
point.
he's gonna rock you like a hurricane.
Yeah, he's
Nothing wrong with
out
this
there.
man. Yeah. I don't know, but you guys, but isn't that the point? He's trying to look crazy so he doesn't get killed because he's doing stuff that would destroy
his
the
code.
it would destroy the narrative of all these companies that are saying it's impossible to get energy from things like they do.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like he's trying to make himself look like some old cat lady or something. It's very interesting. Have you seen that? He built a huge, like, there's just a laser beam. He bought a house, I think it was in like in Oregon or up in Washington, and it was right on the coast. And he like made the whole building a laser so he can shoot it at the ocean.
I haven't seen the thing itself. I don't know where it is, where I would find it. It could be something like that. But yeah, he's built some directed energy things. And it's interesting because it's the same technology that's used for directed energy weapons, like active denial systems, which are the ones they use for, active denial system. Guns that make you feel bad with radio bullets.
Jesus.
There we go. It's the same idea.
Well, let me pull
Parabolic
out.
dish.
There we go.
Parabolic dish. Focus point backwards. There you go. That's
See?
how I keep my booty warm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see that with the video card, just aimed at your computer. It's probably like a thing you can do, like radio signal too. Send the infrared, the heat, and the data, writing on the heat, some kind of thing like that. But those systems have like different frequencies, like you were showing earlier. So this can hit specifically, kind of the way microwave hits 2.4 or something for water. This can boil you, but it could also hit, like with an MRI, they can see different frequencies are going to affect different parts of your brain selectively. So they can go into a specific part of your brain. And if it's a part that I think most people respond the same way to, for whatever reason, I mean, then they have a little bit of puppet string.
And
Yeah.
the weird part about those dishes, they say that it's only millimeter waves. And so because of the size of the wave, the penetrating factor only goes up to the 3rd or 6th layer of the epidermis. You can tune those. You can actually change the waves. So you can cook organs with that. You just have to change the microwave's power.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, we
already
have the
there, but
naval
that's-
research from 70s on that on through, like literally frying your ovaries, testes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no good for your body.
Yeah, the EMF
I think-
studies.
I think that's what he hit Tesla's niece with, was one of those.
Hmm.
I think that's what he said. Allegedly. He said it as far as I remember. I
I
mean,
hit her with the donut gun.
All right, let's see. John Hutchison, Tesla's niece. I before E, except after C is a lie. Don't ever trust it. My method is different. No. Let's see here. Hutchinson, Nikola Tesla. I don't know where I'd find that. I don't know.
yeah. It was like an interview as far as I remember. It might have been on his own channel too, because he had a YouTube channel for a while. He still might have it. It's like very few subscribers, pretty obscure. He just has, like people over that are, into the same things as he is, just talking about stuff that I don't understand. You guys are way beyond my understanding of any of this stuff.
Well, we got to get people even more, like Jeremiah, the technician. I'm gonna have him soon because he was talking with. He's been on before, but he just did an interesting fusion experiment, which I need to ask him to wear lead gloves or something when he does this, because he's just doing fusion in his house.
Wow.
But he's like
Mother
touching the
knows
jar.
best. Let him
He's
do
touching
it.
the jar, and it's like glowing like infrared tang, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad to do it online, but so
Yeah.
wait, there's a John Hutchinson Roundhead who is of the Parliament, fought in the English Civil War, and was the 13th of the 59 commissioners to sign the death warrant of King Charles, beginning the period of no King England with Lord Protectorate Cromwell. So that's
maybe
kinda
that's
cool.
who. Maybe that's who he was dressing up like. I thought it was
does,
a girl, but
he does
was-
look more like the dog. I'm glad you agree. That's
Back
what I
to the
kinda-
wig.
Yeah, get back on track. He's a wig. Could be a thing.
Interesting.
What bloodline is that? Moon-shaped face? It's not Medici. What's the other one? There's a bloodline for this shape of face.
Not
Dang.
Plantagenet or Merovingian. Carolingian.
What's the one you said first?
Merovingian, Plantagenet.
It's the Plantagenet.
Oh yeah, Plantagenet. John. Yeah, I don't know why I have to say it like that.
I'm pretty sure
Plantagenet.
that's the bloodline.
Plantagenet. Plantagenet. It's Warren Buffett, okay, and he eats at the Buffet. That's where
It's
we
called
get
a
all you can eat
plantain.
Buffett. The plantain.
A
Yeah,
plantain.
Oh,
that's what it is.
no.
No, but John Plantagenet,
Is that
is
like
the
banana
way-
face?
I tried
Well,
saying
he's-
Plantagenet in school one time, and my teacher said Plantagenet and made me like feel bad about it. It was like I said aluminium or something. He's like, get out. Like,
I
just,
had a PE teacher that would say Massachusetts.
aw.
Oh.
He'd get
That's
mad
better
when you correct
than
him.
what it sounds like. Because if you say Mass too, never mind. I love the state. I kid
Mississippi.
Massachusetts. I did again.
Anyway,
But I kid them. I kid the state. I love it. So, but the vacuum tubes. There was another thing I wanted to bring up about this. We kind of wanted this one time earlier, but I wanted to just talk about the cryonics, because the cryonics are coming out now, and they're going to be using vacuum tubes that are connected so that they can do the photonic systems. And this seems to also connect to Jack and the Beanstalk, because he has that weird harp basilisk lady that plays different music that actually makes rainbows and controls the weather. Right, that's the big thing. Jack and was it Mickey and the Beanstalk? Because I just want to use the picture for this point. Harp. She's a harp in the Mickey version, but instead she's just like a serpent queen witch thing like Beowulf in the other version, but she can control the weather. And so when she plays music, it makes everything fine, but when she's not there, it stops raining. And so
Interesting.
the release of her is necessary to allow for the end of the drought and the resurgence of harmony, frequent harmony of weather, right? The harp and weather.
that's so archetypal.
Yeah, very
I-
Demeter.
Free the
underworld.
goddess, restore balance,
Yeah.
complete the circle. That was I just finished a Clive Barker book called Magica, and if you didn't want to read it, I'll tell you the end. That's what happens.
Yeah. Yep, the harp is definitely connected to these underworld goddesses and the disappearance of the daughter in the winter season, and bringing
Well,
the rains back, and
the
sun.
the rape and subjugation of women and Mother Nature at
Yeah.
the same time. And I mean, it's the Persephone story.
Yeah, Persephone, exactly. Yep.
It's the same
And-
damn thing.
Where's the giant women of ancient California? Like
That's Kali. Kali. Whoopi Goldberg.
Califia. There it is.
Yeah,
She was so before Beyonce was the goddess. It was Whoopi in the 70s during their last ceremony,
Right.
which was their first big television ceremony for the goddess.
And she did it at the Disney ride, the California Adventure ride. There was a statue of her that turns into. I covered that at one point, but it's weird is we're finding all these stories about giants everywhere in California, that the natives have the same stories, and who knows how tall they are, of course, because you've got the stories of them being 120 feet, 36 feet, whatever, from the Spanish. But the natives have stories of also just there's different tribes. And so some of them are very small people and some of them are very, very large people, and they're interacting together. So you have giants and anything from 4 foot tall people to 36 foot tall people are mentioned in the Polynesian myths across California, and that they're women run, matriarchy run, similar to Egypt and parts of South America, which it could just be a coincidence in the sense that it makes sense. Like women, they're running the economy because they're at home, they're taking care of the kid. Maybe that's just I don't want to be like Dawkins here though. So it could more likely that's just a connection.
The whole idea, I'll rephrase what I'm about to say. I heard a very good argument. I heard a very good argument for the adaptation of the ruler to sit on their throne. And this being because women ruled from the throne and men ruled from the front lines.
Right.
And this just being an idea that, a woman gave birth, sat, but also bled regularly, had her moon, as they would say. And so it's all of the old warrior kings that you would see, and only more recently in history where you would see the idea of Pharaoh on his throne.
I need to rewatch Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. I'm serious. This is important. This is probably
Get
it's
me
like
in that
California.
car.
Hey, sorry guys, I gotta actually head out right now. There's something
yeah.
that came up, but
Giant, we love you.
love you guys. It was
Peace.
awesome. Yeah, I will talk to
Awesome.
you guys here soon.
Yeah,
Cool, man.
have a good night.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
Giant.
But being a family man, it's hard to balance. I hear you. But the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman is an interesting movie because she's in California. She comes to California, and I forget what the story is. It's like a technological enlargement. It seems like a lot of the stuff is radio based, right? Like the radio enlargement. Isn't that basically the most real kind of enlargement? Is the radio? What do you think about that?
Gives you a
Yeah.
big head.
I mean,
Someone's-
it's almost always like everyone talks about this FM enlargement, frequency modulated enlargement, in order to increase size of things or shrink the shrink ray. What do you think about the shrink ray?
Oh, the whole Honey, I Shrunk the Kids thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Before
exactly.
we move on, though, someone says extras dress up as her,
Where what?
the 50-foot woman. It wasn't a super
I
chat. I
should
just
dress
got
up
it.
as the 50-foot.
Yeah, I know that'd be great.
I'm just not that tall.
We could do
But
reface. We'll
not
get some
50 foot.
refaces in there.
I could get
Good
heels.
call.
In the scientific fiction, a shrink ray is any device which uses, what if it was like 40-foot heels, 41, something like 42, something like 43-foot heels. In a shrink ray, any device which uses energy to reduce physical size of matter. I think if I type in IEEE spectrum and shrink ray, we'll see the shrink ray, non-volatile memories, shrink ray. No, that's not right. But there is effort to try to take data and shrink it, but also for the same purpose, figure out how to magnify information and to enlarge it. And the main difference is spin state. So there's an amount of space that's in between everything. So just to be able to harmonize the amount of
Reconfigure.
space. Yeah, the amount of space
Yeah.
in between everything would just have to be,
Larger.
well, it's
Just
the amount
more
of spin.
space.
It's the speed of particle spin. That is the idea.
But then doesn't the integrity of the thing it's building suffer? No.
Well,
'cause
it's like a
scale.
phase shift thing.
Maybe it makes you into a cloud though, yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
You'd have a lot of
it's
hollow-
kind of a phase
Hollow
thing.
places. Hollow man.
What do you think about the Montauk project and some of those other projects like this? Phase shifting. Or elaborate on phase shifting in general, whatever you want.
Two things. This vibrates at a certain speed, this vibrates at a certain speed. So if I were to harmonize, then I could pass right through it instead of stopping just before I touch it. Because if you zoom in really tight, I'm not actually touching it. It only looks and feels. That's the basic idea, which honestly would make, with what we know about frequency and vibration, would make the Flash the strongest superhero in the universe. And he just is too dumb to use his own powers.
The Flash is the coolest superhero. Didn't he
He's
do-
just
doesn't
too
he do that?
stupid. He
Ah.
phase shifts to pass through things, but I mean, as far as low frequency and sub frequency and high frequency harmonic use, no, the Flash uses his powers like a bitch.
See, and Ezra Miller found that out, and that's why he went insane.
Ezra Miller again.
But
Maybe
this idea,
Ezra Miller
the idea of the
column.
Flash being able to shift, isn't that in which movie is it? The
No, he does that in a lot of comics, but he uses it for stupid ends. He
in
could
Endgame,
actually,
he uses it to slow down reverse time in order to change the timeline, basically, so they can grab something.
that's
right.
cool, but if all he would need to do is use
Teleport.
his resonance to burst an entire city's eardrums or to make them all shit themselves. Like he
Does
could
he
do
use it
so
to
much more with
teleport
his power.
already?
Say it again, Britt.
Going to use it to teleport then? Because you're saying if you can get at a certain frequency and match another frequency, you could stay in that state. I was thinking that had to do with like teleportation. No.
What am I doing wrong here? Hold on. Trying to
Get this
move to the
Ezra
next page.
Miller picture down.
Yeah, if you can't vibrate at the same frequency, you wouldn't be able to teleport.
You say it again. I can't hear you.
I'm just saying for teleportation, don't you have to be at the same frequency of wherever you're moving, or isn't that part of the
Well,
machine
that's the show you're watching, right?
involved in-
Boys. So in the Boys, doesn't he
teleportation?
like kill people because he flies through people?
Oh,
That's
Gavin
not
Newsom is
teleporting.
Homelander.
I'm talking about
What, Homelander?
teleporting. Oh wow,
Homelander is Gavin
Nathan!
Newsom.
Interesting
You
idea.
have to catch up.
All right, explain this.
Wow.
He's like
Okay.
this-
Well, if
he's
you
like
have,
a fascist, liberal fascist
no,
from
you haven't seen
California.
it.
So
Evil.
there's a meme. There's a meme where Gavin Newsom looks like every movie villain, and somebody's like, "Why does Gavin Newsom look like every Marvel movie villain?" And I found a picture of Homelander, and they're making the same face, and that's it. The Boys is the story of Gavin Newsom.
Huh.
Hmm.
So what is The Boys about? They're like eugenics project superheroes.
No, that's not doing any spoilers.
Is that really a
Two-
spoiler? Isn't most
I'm a guy who's
superhero?
seen
That's
I've
season
seen
2.
3 episodes. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're okay.
So out of just a rough 3 episodes I've ever seen, they are marketing and televising real superheroes who are also kind of messed up. And their poster boy is possibly the most narcissistic, evil son of a bitch in the world. And he knows the only way that he can keep his status is to pretend that he's a good dude. And
Yeah.
that's, and there's a million subplots, but Homelander is what everyone says the world's elite are secretly.
Correct.
That's not bad at all. I mean, well,
It's,
that's good that the show's about that. I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That's horrible to the core, but I'm glad it's transparent. And
I also go into religion and Christianity a little bit.
what do they talk about religion and Christianity?
It's just a whole.
Oh,
sub
and selling your soul to
part.
be relevant on the media, selling your soul for fame.
Hmm.
That's a big
It's
part
because
of
people
that
want to
thing.
be as superheroes. It's pretty cool.
Like all the people that are fans are like, if you drink this, you'll become a superhero.
But there's some.
Well,
If you start the season, you'll know. It's like some people are God-given heroes and whatnot. It's a God-given ability.
and superheroes like in the show have to behave according to what the networks want, or they aren't on the show anymore. Then they're
There's
just
some Me Too stuff.
people.
dude, like MIA, that poor girl.
It's garbage because it's a TV show, but if you're stuck watching TV, at least you can look past the first veil.
Yeah, that's right. What did we say recently? Like, I don't like Netflix. I just think it's an important lesson in critical analysis.
Mm,
It's like a whole sentence. But okay,
I
so
don't even
Montauk.
s- I don't even
no.
see code anymore. I just see blonde redhead. That's what.
Yeah, keep drinking. No, but so the Montauk Project talks a lot about this idea of, the experiments done with the technology necessary to shrink ray, enlarge, phase shift, etc. A lot of experiments involving kids, because the idea that humans, as they get older, start to become more solid, less plastic. When you're younger, you could probably phase shift easier because you're still getting used to it.
That's okay.
I want
I
to see
got
the
you right here.
apple.
After this live chat, I will tell you about the golden compass.
Wait, just do it here. Tell us about the golden compass.
Okay, then we're
What's the
doing the
spoiler?
live chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Before that, though, shrink ray. Do they have any videos? Shrink ray and apple? No.
Wait, what's
No
wrong
such
with the shrink
You're
ray?
talking about shrinking and making humans large and
Phase
I don't know
shrink,
if I've
whatever.
seen that. Yeah, if I type gold, let's just start with his golden
All right.
compass phase shift.
Well, no, it's not in there like that. This is just what you described.
Okay.
So the trilogy, the Golden Compass, the Subtle Knife, and I can't remember the third book. They focus on how children are malleable. Have you seen the Golden Compass?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the golden compass.
Okay, so your demon isn't settled yet. Also, there's a multiverse, blah, blah, blah. But the whole idea that children aren't set in their ways yet, which gives them a weakness and a power.
Also, they
And
all
so
wear
the
like
idea of
Freemasonic
phase-shifting-
aprons and stuff. Where's
Yeah.
that picture?
And
Yeah.
then the idea that the human skull sutures don't close until you're 30. I mean, there's plenty of physiological changes that happen. So as far as Montauk is concerned, yeah.
I want to find the picture of the dude in the aprons. But yeah, they have like separated souls, which are these like Egyptian spirit animals that are connected to them.
Demons.
Spirit demons, right? Look at that creepy monkey. That's your spirit. That's like half your. Was it a 3-part soul? 2-part soul? What do they got?
I mean, that's her twin.
And she
hate
locks it in a
Nicole.
compass and releases it out, or what's the deal?
She believes she's a sinner and she hates herself and she hates her own soul.
Hmm.
So she.
And wait, why
has
did you
an
connect it
interesting
to the Montauk Project again?
Well, you asked if children are more malleable
Oh,
towards
right,
such abilities,
right.
and I say, yeah, it's been a plot device.
Yeah, it's true. The kids are the ones that they have to prepare and train and get used to the jumps, the magical experiences. By the time they're too old, they can't do it anymore. It's too late.
And neurobiology and physiology and early childhood development suggests on a wide range of studies that until a child is 7, the imagined world is as real as reality for them, because until they're 7, their brain is still writing down in their mind what reality is. So that's who's the Ben Gurion dude, or the other guy that said, "Give me the child until they're 7, and I'll give you the man."
I mean,
That's
isn't
the
that
reason.
that's Ignatius Loyola in real life? But
Oh, was it? I
Yeah.
mix
There's
it with Ben Gurion because of the whole kibbutz thing.
oh, that's fair. Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
also said it. I would not be surprised. We got 2 super chats from Lisby. Thank you, Lisby. She says, or they say, thank you for talking about Attack on Titan. Love it so much. I heard Attack on Titan sort of based on Norse mythology. Thoughts? The Quaternet is insane. Teenage Aaron is a brat. I love Levi. Who's your favorite character? What do you guys think?
Is that the Japanese anime?
Yeah,
I'm the
Brittany
only
just started
one
watching
who's
it.
seen even a season.
I like no, we've been watching it.
You guys been watching?
I've seen it
Didn't I?
before, and I've read the manga before, and I've seen part of the first.
I guess I
saw it
don't know
through, but I
enough
was
to
like not
weigh
paying too
in.
much attention when it first came out, like 2014 or something like that in Japanese. So now I'm rewatching it again, giving it more focus and thinking about Tartaria as I go. That's why I was saying it was so interesting. I was like, yeah, actually, I forgot how much is actually said in this. I remember being kind of about it, but like, of course, everything would have to hide it. But here's a show where they even have the chronology, which is pretty interesting. That they're talking about the dates and when things are. I don't have a favorite character. Nathan, who's your favorite character?
Just still a cannibal one.
Aaron's dad.
Oh, okay.
I liked Aaron's dad because at one moment he's portrayed in a good light, and then in the next in an evil light, and then in a human light.
Mm-hmm.
Though he is none of those things. I mean, it's your typical mad scientist thing, and I really dug on that aspect of the show. I mean, yeah, we can have magic, we can have giants, but that gave it such a steampunk, low pH chemist vibe.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Uncle, similar kind of vibe. Best character in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I mean, great show
Uncle
for all
Iroh.
kinds of reasons, but Uncle, dude, totally makes it like it's another level because it's all of a sudden like the humanizing connection to the story.
It just adds a dimension instead of it being about one thing.
But it is weird. The quad, what's it called?
Quaternary.
Quaternine.
Oh, okay.
What's it called? The quaternate, right?
The Metatron. Oh, coordinate. I was like,
Maybe
what are
that's
you
their-
four
maybe-
part? Okay.
That was with the super chats. Coordinate that with a Q, which is not bad. Kind of interesting. Their ability to coordinate. I don't know. What do you think about the idea though of genetic modification? Do you think that we're on the verge of super soldiers that are going to be giants? Right? You've seen the genetically modified super soldiers stories.
Too dangerous. It's too dangerous to be big anymore. There's a million things you can use to kill it from far away. No, it would honestly be easier if they were invisible or fast. But no,
Invisible.
I think the age of the giant is long past.
You have
Yeah.
drones. You have smaller things.
It's
Able
all
to
about
get.
speed.
Then again, we were talking recently to my friend Mark. He's 6'8". So there are a lot of these guys out there. There are tall people, and it wouldn't be hard to isolate the genes. But then the thing is, these giants in Attack on Titan, they are docile in a weird way, right? Attack on Titan.
The weaker ones, only the weaker ones, but it's like in Warhammer 40K, there's an entire legion of space marines who had their souls taken from them, and only the ones with the strong enough will actually retain their own souls and their own awareness. This was the rubric of Ahriman.
So explain Warhammer, because that's a big rabbit hole that I doubt you need too many spoilers for people that aren't going to.
Everything.
Yeah, Warhammer's huge and it's a big deal, and I don't think everyone's going to get into playing the Warhammer RPG, but they should know the lore, because
there's video games. You can read the books. The books are pretty dope. Dan Abnett is a really good fiction writer for war novels. But it's the year 40,000. Same timeline as we're looking at right now, but we're in the year 2000. So imagine that far in the future. So one day, a man comes out of nowhere and begins to unite the disparate warlords of Earth. And now we've already taken to the stars. And yet 5,000 years after or before this man comes out of nowhere, we've been cut off from all the other places we used to colonize. They called it Old Night. For 5,000 years, it was dark, and the emperor came out of nowhere and united the race. And so that's in the year 30,000. His son Horus led a rebellion and almost killed the emperor. And so from the year 30,000 to the year 40,000, the emperor sat on his life support, the golden throne. And now we are in a new dark age where mankind only knows war against Xenos creatures, against the forces of chaos, demons that come from the Empyrean, which is, I guess you could call it the ether. But
so how tall are these guys, though, right? I mean, they get big. That's the other thing.
Those are space marines. They are genetically modified humans called Astartes. They are about 12 feet tall.
Right. So there are the giant super soldiers eventually.
Yes, but even in the year 30,000, they only picked the strongest humans, and not all of them survived the surgeries. And it's still physical surgeries.
Fair. Are any of them named Jack or anything like that?
Nah, they all got some religious names.
I got a good connection I forgot to pull up earlier I wanted to do, which is about Jack and the Beanstalk.
And Jack and the Heart. Jack and the TikTok Heart movie that just came out.
What movie is that?
I previewed the beginning.
Jack and the Giant Slayer?
No, Jack and the TikTok Heart. Or the Cuckoo Clock Heart.
Oh, there was a thing. Jack and the
Jack.
Cuckoo Clock Heart.
Wasn't it Jack?
Yeah.
Sorry, just another thing.
Jacques et le mécanique du quoi, right? So it's the Cuckoo Clock Heart. I have not seen this yet, so I don't have any thoughts. Have you seen this? Do you know about this? What it's about? Brittany?
Yes.
What's it about?
He is frozen and climbs a hill and has to get a heart put in. Becomes a automated boy, kind of.
Yeah, it's
like
a
Frank and
steampunk
Weenie.
thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I stopped it halfway.
Oh, it's French though. It's probably legit.
That's-
Dionysus did the music. Come on,
It was good. The
I'm
first
giving
half.
it a shot. That's something to look into.
All right. Anyway.
Well,
sorry.
I was gonna do something on Jack and the Beanstalk's bean for a second, because we talked about the golden goose, but the thing that's interesting with the bean, and I think about how Pythagoras wouldn't eat beans. Why did Pythagoras not eat beans? And that came up only after learning that bean in like the old Cornish original translation was similar to corpse, or like a human that grows out of the ground. There's like a whole weird thing that connects beans to humans. And so part of it was that Pythagoras believed in reincarnation. The Druids also believed in this kind of reincarnation idea that you could be reincarnated not just as a chicken, but also as a bean. And so like you might accidentally be eating your friends or something if you eat beans. So there's a whole level to this about human sacrifice, about magic beans being beans with human souls in them. They're like past incarnations of people, maybe trapped even by this witch who had turned into a toad. Any thoughts on beans? Human beans?
That'd be sucked to be trapped as a bean
You don't want to be a bean?
No. Especially in that movie today,
Which one?
The School of Good and Evil, whatever. But like, yeah.
Are they in beans?
They could be trapped as certain things if you don't pass
Oh, really?
your classes.
Human beings.
etc. But yeah, it was no, they weren't. You asked me my thoughts. I don't want to be a bean. I'll be a tree, a bird,
Heard it here first.
Same.
an ant.
Not what I mean.
I just
Legit. Well, I mean, the idea of there being genetically modified beings that also are connected to animals and plants. What do you think about that? The idea of carnivorous plants or genetically modified super plants?
Well, we already know that plants can see, because there's a specific type of vine that's it's the mimic vine. Can't remember the name of it. It will crawl up other plants and then begin to look like them. Really cool. But there's something weird about it. It does it with fake plants too, which means that somehow this thing has a photoreceptor brain with the processing power to see, because it's not pheromones that it's mimicking. We know that because plastic plants don't have pheromones.
Mm-hmm. So it can mimic human pheromones?
Why couldn't it? I mean, if it exists and it can mimic something, something created and not something living, then maybe it could. Those things freak me out. What is that?
This is a hold on. Let me go back a page. It'll say Nepenthes, the Nepenthes, flesh-eating plant. Genus of carnivorous plant, monkey
After the
cup.
god?
See here, disambiguation. Do you see a god? I see an episode of Star Trek Picard.
I feel like it was a god. That's
Fictional medicine for sorrow in ancient Greek mythology, depicted as originating in Egypt, a drug of forgetfulness. Whoa. In the Odyssey, then Helen, daughter of Zeus, took other counsel straight away. She cast into the wine of which there were drinking a drug to quiet all the pain and strife and bring forgetfulness of every ill.
damn fool Soma.
Dang. But it's from Egypt, whatever that really means at that point.
Yeah.
But being, I don't know for sure if it's the plant's named afterwards, probably, or something like that. Let's see, when's the plant named? Philippines, Sumatra, New Caledonia, Madagascar. Let's see, Botanical History, 1658 by Etienne Le Flacourt. And it's a plant growing about 3 feet high, which carries at the end of its leaves, which are 7 inches long, a hollow flower or fruit resembling a small vase with its own lid, a wonderful sight. There are red ones and yellow ones, the yellow one being the biggest. The inhabitants of this country are reluctant to pick the flowers, saying that if somebody does pick them in passing, it will not fail to any rain on that day. As to that, I and all other Frenchmen did pick them, but it did not rain. After rain, these flowers are full of water, each one containing a good half glass. Okay, so you can drink out of the thing, but it'll eat anything that's asleep or bugs.
If you guys are interested in anything botanical or organic or medicinal, Andreas, could you go to the new branch of the site? We just started it, well, recently, stolenmedicine.net.
Is there a hyphen? There's a hyphen. Oh, no,
Nope.
Is it? Cool.
There's your one-stop shop.
Wow.
This is a forum it was an offshoot forum done by the creators of stolenhistory.com or .net, and it only focuses on health, medicine, and history of it. So you got to try it.
Nice. Venice Beach Sub Club. Seth, what's up? He says Saturday night. All right. Very good. Yeah. we're just looking over Jack and the Beanstalk and plant medicine. And then Nathan just pointed out, Amar just pointed out stolenmedicine.net, which has not just medicine, but all sorts of, it's a forum of all sorts of things. So the wisdom of German new medicine, for instance, which is something we talked about in the Neuropa episode a while ago. This was like an even deeper dive from Grumpy Owl. That's pretty cool. Wow. And then so there's a bunch of different links. Sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. People that created this site are way deeper in their own respective rabbit holes than almost anyone that you can find. Usually a content creator is stuck creating content regularly, and it's really hard to go as deep as you want to go. These guys are not burdened by that. They're not content creators. They're researchers, and they share what they find here.
Oh, and then another super chat. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Help Andreas get to 20,000 subs. Thank you, recent Tartarians. Yes, that's very good. I do appreciate it if you guys share this video and get people to look into this video. But also, people watching this video, like stolenmedicine.net, check out this information because we want to get everybody involved in these different groups. And this is probably a site that can get away with talking about things you can't talk about on YouTube. So
there's well, just for instance, historical report of the plague in
Wait, you got cut. Say it again.
1665.
Oh, okay.
That's just a little snapshot. Oh, that one.
Okay.
That's just a snapshot. So you're going to get a background with some links in there.
Nice. Join the discussion.
And that's
okay. So that's the overview of the discussion. Oh, that's a really clever and clean way to do it. Oh, that's great.
It really streamlined it.
Oh, that's cool. So historical report of the Plague of London, first link, and then read more about the resource. And then here's a big thing about the plagues in Somalia in 77.
So when you get into it, you're not just reading articles, you can actually contribute. At which point a lot of these articles are revised or a thread is, and so they have access to your information too.
This is cool. Very good.
And they have fun things like Dreamtime, German-based researcher. He has graphene oxide detoxification protocols for both vaccinated and unvaccinated. I just realized I said those words. I hope they don't take your video down.
It's okay. I think you're talking about Vacus, which is Latin for cattle, right? Vacus.
Aha.
Cattle.
Well,
right.
If we're in etymology.
Yeah, we're chill. I think we're all right. But I know, Nathan, you're saying you got places to be, families to take care of, babies to make sure are alive. So I know that you're kind of busy. Is there anything you wanted to make sure we covered tonight before we postpone to the next rendezvous?
No, I think this is it. I think we
I wanted to say one thing.
Oh,
Brittany's got thoughts.
Go ahead.
So Brittany's got words.
No, just even look into giants because they update what they've found since maybe I've been in school or your parents have been in school. So unless you've followed up on it, you won't really know what's out there.
Right.
And then check the sources because there's a lot of bogus claims, but yeah, it'll like blow your mind to see what they're actually finding. Right? Because when I was in high school, it was all like mythological or just biblical tales.
Here's a map of giant reports of North America created by Sea Hall. As
there
you notice, America's the green part, the giants are purple. There's a lot of giants being found across
and different
America.
Sizes of giants.
Good with good jobs, bagging grocery. No, but most of them are dead. But there are the thing is, some of these stories, because they're so old, they'll say, hey, you know what? Who's to say they were 36 or 16 feet? They're probably 7 foot tall. Calm down. And you can't look at the bones because we had to return them to the native tribes they belong to, which is,
which we pay.
We pay them. And so you can actually see them in the casino. No, I'm just kidding. But the skeleton of giants found at Juniper, there's a good list here of the top 10. I'm not going to go through all of them right now because it's about time this man takes care of his baby, but we'll go and do this another time. But you've heard of some of these, the Serpent's Mound. What have I done? The Cresby Mound, the Momsum, Iowa. A lot of these are 7 foot tall. You can see some pictures of these are the older ones that have been pretty big. you know, the San Diego mummy. California mummies are always like 10 foot tall, which is pretty sweet. Good job, California.
And if you ever want to learn about why these are secret now, you can thank a man who covered it all up, Cyrus Thomas.
Right?
Look
Okay.
into
Yes,
Cyrus
so
Thomas.
bad.
I have
really
all
quickly,
of
I'll
his
just-
stuff
Good
on
call,
almost every
Nathan.
forum. I did a couple deep dives
Just
on
a
him.
reset.
This man is a famous ethnologist, actually. He was into bugs, but the Smithsonian hired him and he wrote an 800-page report debunking the idea of the mounds in America being ancient. He also said that most finds of copper and glass and other metals inside of the mounds were placed there by
Wow.
archaeologists. And then he went down south and he looked at the stone at Palenque and screwed up all the Mayan translations. It was 100 years before people undid a lot of the damage he did down there.
What an American hero.
That's a big resetter, right?
But
there.
okay, last one I will point out is the 18-footer from Pennsylvania and West Hickory. So if you look into the West Hickory giant, 18 feet, you can find a very, you know, analog style post like Ben would do. The Cardiff giant, Aunt Dunn alleges discovery of skeleton giant in the oil regions. There's plenty of these stories in the 1870s of 18-foot skeletons being found. A lot more in the 1811s and 1812s, destroyed by civil war. So that's fun. But ever since, we've been finding stories of giants in South America. You know, there's giants everywhere. So,
And you don't find them in the Midwest because the entire Midwest, that whole belt, is under 400 feet of mud.
yeah, I mean,
Deep
there's the
volcanism,
all down
and
there.
their history.
What about Colorado? Though? Does that count as not Midwest or something?
Well, Colorado is the Red Land, which is the home of Esau's tribe. So
Okay, I'll count that.
Love that.
Lovelock Cave. Last thing I should show, and then I'll be
Oh, yeah.
good.
Also, next time a little
Lovelock
deeper
Cave.
into
100 foot
geoengineering.
tall, 30 foot tall, whatever you want. Found in Lovelock Cave. Some people say the cave itself is made of titans, giants, you know, and it's in Nevada. And there's some pretty crazy architecture,
that is
archaeology.
a mating age duck.
Say it again.
Oh, I said that's a mating season duck.
Oh, right. And the mallard, the great mallard, because you know, the darkwing duck always strikes when you least expect him. All right, well, guys, come to the Discord, put some information into the Saturday category, go into the radio chat, start chatting with each other, put some stuff in there that you want to see in the deep dives. We have a deep dive section, so you can put information in there as well. I think we're gonna try to do a radio chat. I might even we'll set it up tomorrow to do a radio chat. So if you guys want to join in the radio and see what's going on. But
Oh, yeah.
thank you for being here.
Thanks for
TartarNova.com.
having us.
Yeah, pretty good. Peace and love. What was the song we're playing again? It's Red Eye. It's
Good eye.
The world is very different now. For man holds in his mortal hand the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life.
Begins a very special time of the year for us. It's the time of peace and reflection. One thing we should all be thankful for is that we live in America, where we have the freedom to change things and the opportunity to grow.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear
That you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of your ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.